I work with LearnVest members and financial planning clients all day long, and I help answer all types of questions. Hands down, one of the most popular topics involves how to talk to your significant other about money. And honestly, it's such an important topic, but it doesn't always get the attention it deserves. I'm here today with Jennifer Roberts, General Manager from Chase Card Services. Today, Jennifer and I are going to help you set a framework for a constructive money talk conversation. Welcome, Jennifer.
Thanks, Stephanie. You know, Chase Blueprint is proud to have worked with LearnVest almost since the beginning, and I'm happy to be here today to walk you and your members through a super important and sometimes difficult topic of conversation to have with your significant other.
Jennifer, I'm so glad to have you. Chase has been a great partner, and I think today's session is going to be really exciting for our entire audience. We know a lot about our significant others, but too often we just don't talk to each other about money. It's a really taboo topic, and it's really emotional. But it's such a critical and important conversation, and it is really the key to a happy and long-term relationship. Do you want to spend your lives together having that perpetual worry that money is going to cause a big fight? I'm sure you don't. So Jennifer and I are going to get started talking about how to have the money talk. On today's agenda, we're going to go over a couple of specific things in regards to the money talk itself. First of all, Jennifer and I are going to walk you through what exactly is the money talk? Why is it important to talk about money? How to have the money talk with your partner? And we're also going to go over some specific recommendations for various stages of life, including how to talk about things when you're moving in together, getting engaged, getting married, and also what to do when you're blending together different families. So let's introduce that first poll question as we kick things off. I'd like to know from all of you listening in today, and there's hundreds of people on today's session, have you ever talked to your partner about money? Take a look over on the right-hand side and make sure to answer the question so that I can let you know how many of you have or haven't ever had that talk.
In today's session, we hope that you'll be learning some tools, some practical tools and resources and tips to help you have the money talk.
Thanks, Jennifer. The poll responses were great. 88% of you said that yes, you've actually talked to your partners about money. That's amazing. I think you guys are standouts in this case. We're going to teach you a lot of different things that you can do to continue to have those money talks, so thanks for responding. So let me dig in a little bit deeper to why it's so important to have the money talk. I hear from clients all the time that financial concerns and questions about money is really sort of the #1 reason that people have marital stress. And it comes up all the time, from little decisions to big decisions. I was reading a recent study, and I read that 91% of people surveyed just avoid talking about money, period, with their significant other. That means 9% of couples hardly know anything about the other person financially, and they don't know where their household stands on a financial basis. That's kind of scary.
I agree, Stephanie. And in addition, Chase did a study and found out that 3 out of 4 married couples generally disagree about both money and expenses, and 41% disagree on where they should be spending their money.
I believe you, Jennifer. 80% of married people say they hide purchases from their partner. So there's a lot of things that are up for discussion that should be talked about more openly. I think clearly having the ability to talk with your partner honestly and openly, it really does have the potential to make a much stronger relationship. The thing is, a lot of couples just aren't doing this, and we want to make it easy for you to know how to do it and why to do it. I think you can pretty clearly see why the money talk is so important. So that's what you're here to learn from us today, is how to have that money talk and what to do at different stages of life. Let's break it down and take a look specifically at some details in every money talk that you're going to run into. A money talk is really a time for you and your partner to discuss your attitudes, your priorities, and your goals around money. Let me give you a perfect example. I was meeting with a client recently, and she and her husband were about 10 years from retirement. And they came in wanting to know if they were on track, which is a great question. When I started asking questions, she said that she really wanted to spend retirement traveling in Europe. And he said, well, wait a minute. I thought we were going to spend retirement traveling in an RV in the U.S. And this is a true story. And there they are 10 years from retirement, and they're not on the same page. And they clearly had never talked about this before. So here's the thing. Every money talk is different. When you go into the conversation, you're going to expect that each time you sit down together, you talk about different things, and the framework for what you're talking about is always a little different. But you do want to get on the same page early on and probably sit down and just casually talk things through at least once a year. At LearnVest, we have a really great free tool. It's called the Money Center, and it's a way for you guys to aggregate different accounts, to pull together how much you have in checking, savings, on credit cards, debt, your mortgage, and really know where you stand as a household. Money talks look different if you're dating, married, or in a blended family, and we're going to cover all of that today.
So as Stephany mentioned, you can do the one-time-a-year talk, which is where you're really going to do the inventory of all of your assets and your debts. Or you don't have to have the money talk all at once or just once a year. It can sometimes feel like a formal sit-down when that happens. You can have a lot to talk about and split it out over a course of a few conversations so that no one gets overwhelmed.
Jennifer, I think that's the right idea. We certainly don't want a money talk to be ugly in any way. I'm married, and I'm a financial planner, and I can tell you perfectly honestly, it's still a little bit challenging to talk about money sometimes. My husband and I often break out a bottle of wine before we really get into the details. Here's a couple things I can recommend in all cases. Keep the tone of the conversation light. Just be conversational and never be aggressive with each other. Money, of course, is a sensitive topic. If either of you feels defensive or attacked, it's just going to be that much harder to have a constructive conversation.
And remember, you should be talking to your partner in a language that they understand and really work together to develop a plan that can work for both of you and for your budget.
To get the conversation started, I've got a couple of ideas. It's certainly never easy to just say, I want to talk about money. And clients always tell me that they're afraid really of being judged, which I can understand, whether it's how much money you spend on lattes every day, or really big purchases that you just aren't ready to own up to, or debt you've been carrying around that you've never talked about. The thing is, you're not alone. A lot of people are afraid to talk about this. A lot of couples also tell me that they just assume that they're on the same page financially. Well, of course, my wife is saving for retirement. She has a 401k. Of course, my husband is paying off his credit cards. Why wouldn't he? Yet so many times when couples sit down and talk to each other, they realize that the assumptions that they had made are not actually the case. I get at least one email every day from financial planning clients saying that they're scared or stressed out and not sure how to approach this with their significant other. So here's a couple things to do. I'd say, hey, blame it on LearnVest. You can easily mention that you saw a great webinar today that was sort of about money and conversations. You can reference an article. Hey, I was reading this thing while I was waiting at the doctor's office, and I saw something really interesting that I think we should talk about. That way you can just sort of segue in casually.
And another strategy you can take is ask for advice. Everybody knows that people, and especially our partners, like to be flattered. So you could say something like, you're really good at staying dedicated to saving money, and I'd love to be the same way. Can you show me how you think about saving? You also might want to schedule a talk with your partner. Sometimes it's harder to have the conversation right after the topic is brought up. So you might want to allow your partner to prepare for the conversation, because although you may be thinking about having the money talk, he or she may not be thinking about having that money talk. So make sure you set the stage calmly, engage your partner's interest in having the conversation. We want to provide ideas for you to help you set the right mood for that conversation, but you only know that you can tailor those conversations to meet what matches for your relationship.
Jennifer, I think that's absolutely the case. We can give you guys all kinds of advice, but at the end of the day, everybody's different. So when you go into the money conversation, just tailor it to you and your significant other.